guys, welcome to Griffo's Retro Gaming with me, Alex Griffiths. And I'm in isolation at the moment. As most of the country is, I guess, I've got what I believe is tonsillitis, but because I've got a tickly throat and a cough with it, I can't go to any medical places. They just won't let me in. So I'm in a bit of pain with my tonsils. You may notice that my voice has changed slightly. I may cough during the video, which I do apologise for. But yeah, as a result, I'm in isolation for a bit. So I need something to pass the time. So I've got a pickups video to do, which I bought 17 games for £20 just before Doncaster. And they're all for the PSP. It was a big bundle which I bought. Now, the PSP is a fantastic system, and it's got so many unique and ported games that are just absolutely fantastic compared to the DS, I guess, at the time, which has got some great games, but I feel the PSP is better. And I bought my PSP recently for £10, and looking through the games and everything, I just realised how cheap they were and how much of a bargain some of the games were as well. So I've been on the lookout for them. Not a lot of people collect, so with the PSP as well, it can be modded, so you can emulate games on them, which is another reason people don't bother with the games so much. The disk drives do tend to go as well, which is a bad thing with them. So again, it renders people's games useless. But I'm really enjoying collecting for them at the moment. And I've got a friend called Lee who's selling a bit of his collection at the moment. And he asked me if I wanted some PSP games off him. And I said, yeah, I'll have a look through. And there was quite a lot. He had quite a lot of games and some absolutely fantastic ones, which I'll go through with you today. Not all of them I've got are fantastic, as I've found out. I hadn't played a lot of them, so I went purely on title mainly. But yeah, I got 17 games for 20 quid, and yeah, you'll be stunned by some of the games. They're absolutely amazing. But just before I go on to these, I'll just address the game that's playing in the background. Now, this is WrestleFest, which was a arcade game, coin-operated game. And it's from 1991, would you believe? When you consider some of the games we had at home, it looks light years ahead of what we had on the NES and the Master System. And I used to enjoy just watching it when I was a kid, let alone playing it. When I could play it, I was no good at it, but I really enjoyed it. It's got quite a lot of stars on there as well from the early 90s. Jake the Snake I used to love. Mr. Perfect, and as you can see there, Sergeant Slaughter, Earthquake. There's it's that $1 Million Man, so Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior. Fantastic game. There was also one beforehand which is similar as well, called Superstars, which I didn't know about. I'm going to give it a go. Now, the graphics aren't quite as good, and there's not as many wrestlers on, but there is a few different wrestlers on there, so it could be fun. I'm going to give it a go anyway, but yeah, if you haven't played that, I recommend it. And my dream is to one day in my life to just have an arcade cabinet of this game in the games room. But I know that it does command a high fee, but we'll see. Okay, so I'll go through the games. I'm going to have a display of gameplay footage up in the corner for every game that I show, because I've looked back on older ones and I show the cover, but I've noticed I don't really know a lot about some of the games I collect, because I'm at a point where I'm collecting games I've never played before. And with over 1,000 games for the Xbox, which I never even used to have back in the day. I've only played a handful of games anyway. Same with the PSP and Xbox 360 as well. So some of these I have played before we've come on here, and well, all of them I have, but I still don't know an awful lot about them. So I'll just throw that out there, but the majority I do. So one other thing is these are all complete barring one game as well, which hasn't got the manual. So again, absolute bargain. So 17 games, 20 quid. Number one, best-selling game of 2005, or one of, is 50 Cent Bulletproof GUnit edition. I had to read that. So much fun. I wasn't expecting it at all. I'm not a 50 Cent fan at all. I used to hate his music, but I put this in. It's like, well, I'll see what it's like. And you can tell that the guy, he's just had fun making the game, and it just shows. It's so corny and cheesy, but strangely satisfying at the same time. There's plenty of guns on there and weapons and different moves, enemies. It's action packed, and yeah, if you haven't played it, it's definitely worth a go. I don't know how much some of these games are in CEX. I don't think any of them are over like 3-4 quid. So if you can, definitely pick that up. I think there's a second one as well called Blood on the Sand, which is more where he's fighting terrorists, and it just didn't work as well. I know that got panned a bit, but a lot of people do rate this. And when I look at top 10 videos of PSP games, this usually features. So I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into that at some point. Next up is a game that really surprised me, and it's Killzone Liberation. And it's an army game, as you would expect. It's the Killzone games. I think there's still some on the PS4 now, actually. But I was expecting a first-person shooter. I've never played any, but I was expecting a first-person shooter. But this isn't like that at all. It's like a hack and slash with guns. It's the best way I can describe it. And you can throw grenades and so. I mean, you can see from the footage anyway. But yeah, this is unique to the PSP. I don't know if it got a port later on, but at the time it was just a PSP game. And yeah, it looks an awful lot of fun. I did enjoy playing what I did play of it, the little I did play. So, like I say, they're all complete. You can also use the camera. I haven't got a PSP camera. I think it's a bit like the PlayStation 4 one, which sort of slots in the top, but you can use that for something on there as well, which I'm not 100% sure, but it says it on the back. And yeah, there's ad hoc mode, so you can do co-op, but yeah, fun. And I don't think that's overly expensive. I'm sure I've seen it in CEX for a quid or so. Next up is another army game, and it's Brothers in Arms D-Day. And it is a wonderful looking game, it has to be said, except the character models, when it zooms in, it's not that great in the cutscenes and stuff, but the cutscenes are fantastic. It's really well voiced. I laughed at some of them as well. There's, a bit of swearing in there, but it's not over the top or anything. It's all in context, and it was quite funny. Only issue is, and I think it's mainly down to the PSP itself, but I don't know, if you're not familiar with the PSP console, you've got one analog stick here, which isn't the best. It's quite uncomfortable, and then there's nothing here. So it makes first-person shooter games quite difficult to play. It's a little bit awkward, but this was very slow in that respect. It's quite a methodical game. It just plods along, but there's definitely some value to be had out of that, and I'll be playing it again at some point. But yeah, I don't know the price of it. I don't think it's an awful lot anyway, again. Like I say, I don't think any of these are over 3-4 quid. The majority are about quid or so. Next up then is a game that I don't know anything about. When I played it, it just didn't make any sense. And that's Yu-Gi-Oh! GX Tag Force. Now, yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! It's a cartoon I never watched, never got into, and this is a card game. So if you don't know the story of it, you've got a lot to learn, essentially. It says on the box as well it comes with 3 trading cards, but they're not in there, so I guess they're highly collectible and quite rare. But yeah, it doesn't matter anyway. But best way I can describe it is it's like a Pokemon trading card game. Now, I'm a Pokemon fan. I absolutely love Pokemon. But I used to collect it, for God's sake. But never played the card game. Never any interest in it. And yeah, same with that. But it's nice having the collection. So, I don't know. One day I might sit down and really give it a go. But yeah, it's going to be a big ask, I think. Oh, next up is a game that I was really surprised by. Now, I've never heard of it before. It's called Mercury Meltdown. And it's a puzzle game. But it's so much fun. Now, I saw this for 75p in CEX and I didn't pick it up. I thought, oh, it's just a budget game. But it is so much fun, as you can see. The art style on it is wonderful. It looks really colourful and it's so much fun in that respect. But the idea is you've got to go through these courses and you're a ball of mercury. But you've got different states that you can use. So you can have hot mercury, you can have cold, normal, and solid. So the different states help you progress through certain levels. So if you're a liquid, if you're hot, you can drop down and things like that through like small gaps. And solid helps you go around walls, things like that. It makes you think, but it's so much fun. It's really good. And the music's quite good on there as well. It's quite funky. But yeah, 75p? Bargain. Absolute bargain. Next up is another game which is Crazy Taxi Fair Wars. Now, it needs no introduction, does Crazy Taxi. It's a game off the Dreamcast, and I think it first started on the Dreamcast. But with the demise of the Dreamcast, or was it on the Saturn actually as well? I'm not sure, but we'll say it's the Dreamcast because that's where I first played it anyway. And you just take people to their destinations for money, but you're against the clock on some, well, on all of them, I believe, as I remember right. And this game includes the first Crazy Taxi and the second one. And the unique selling point for this one is, and why it's called Fair Wars, is when you go into ad hoc mode, which is 2-player wirelessly in the same room, essentially, then you compete for fares, and that's why it's called Fair Wars. And you use dirty tactics to try and get to the customer fare, so you'll try and barge the player 2 off the course or whatever, and yeah, it's just crazy, an absolute fun, an absolute must if you if you collect, or even if you've just got a PSP and you want a few good games. Just for Crazy Taxi alone, the second one is a fantastic game, but yeah, so much fun for that. And I think it's £3. It looks really good as well when you're playing They've obviously limited the landscape and stuff, but the actual driving and the focus on the cars and things like that are very good. Speaking of very good graphics, next up is Gran Turismo. Now, I'm not into car games whatsoever, despite what I just said about Crazy Taxi, but that's fun. Now, this is a simulation. And I know it came out a bit later in the PSP's life, but what a game. What a game. I can appreciate it being a non-racing fan. The graphics are stunning. Absolutely stunning. I don't know much about how it plays into. It felt a bit heavy when it was when I was going around corners and things like that. Maybe it's just something you got to get used to. I really want to get into these driving games because the PSP is renowned for having really good driving games. I know there's an Outrun Coast to Coast as well, which I really want to play. I want to play the more arcadey racing games, but I remember Gran Turismo off the PlayStation 1, and you have to buy a car to begin with, whatever Focus or, a cheaper car. And you race to win money so you can upgrade or buy a new car, a faster car, and you collect cars as you go along. Well, on this there's 800 to collect, and there's 35 racetracks. Next up is Assassin's Creed Bloodlines, yeah. And from the Assassin's Creed franchise, and it is a brilliant port again. The graphics on it are really good, but you soon realise that you are on a handheld system because the environment, the walls and things like that, they're not very detailed, and where you can climb, it works to your advantage a bit. Where you can climb are so obvious. Sometimes they're not, but they are, for the most part, really obvious, and that takes a bit away from the game, unfortunately. But the cutscenes were really good. The voice acting's really good. The story, from what I played, very good. Yeah, it's just a fantastic game, and I believe if you don't want to play it on the PSP, I believe it got a port to the PlayStation 2, like Vice City Stories and Liberty City Stories did. So yeah, check it out. But definitely worth a go. Next up then is a game that doesn't have the instructions, and it is Super Monkey Ball Adventure. I've got a little story about Super Monkey Ball. So when I had a GameCube, I got a GameCube instead of a PlayStation 2. And I went to buy James Bond Agent Under Fire or Nightfire, one of them. I can't remember which one it was. And I was wanting some GoldenEye action again, essentially, trying to recreate that magic. And I went to Electronics Boutique, and they used to take the games out and just have the case on the rack, if you like. And then you'd go to the counter when you wanted to buy it, and they'd put the game and the instructions in. So I went up to the counter with the James Bond game, and they put the instructions in, and the game. I paid when I got home, I saw that it was Super Monkey Ball for the GameCube. Like, oh, it looked a bit childish as well, I mean, forgive me, but it does. And I thought, I'm going to have to go back, but it was the weekend. I thought, I'll go back during the week. And in the meantime, I played it, and I really enjoyed it, but I really wanted to play James Bond. So when I went back, I said, you've given me the wrong game here. So he had a look, and he took out the instructions, which were shrink wrapped, and the James Bond game was in there. I was like, oh, could have had Super Monkey Ball and James Bond. But yeah. So that was my first taste of Super Monkey Ball, and I really enjoyed it. So I think I'm going to enjoy this. From what I played, it plays more or less the same. It looks the same as well because it's a bit cartoony, so you're not really sacrificing much in the way of graphics. But yeah, a lot of fun to be had with Super Monkey Ball if you've never played it. Oh, yeah. So next up is Star Trek Tactical Assault. Didn't like this when I tried it. Very boring, in my opinion. There's a few tactic games on the system, like Lord of the Rings and Final Fantasy. But this was just so monotonous. It used the same sound effects for the guns all the time. It was just so boring. And I'm not a Star Trek fan anyway, so I can't see me ever playing this again. But it's nice to have in the collection nonetheless. Next up is a fantastic port again, and it is Tomb Raider Anniversary. And it plays just like you would expect. and they've done a really good job with the port. So you've still got all the exploration. The sound effects are really good on there as well, and the exploring, going up, hanging on ledges, things like that. It's a full game. Graphically, it looks really good, better than I thought it was going to be, and one I really want to get into. I've never played this on any system, and I believe at the time it came out for pretty much everything, possibly even a mobile phone. I'm not sure. I think it's on the N-Gage. I could be wrong, but I think it's on the N-Gage. But yeah, that's a very good game. Very good. So this is where I don't know much about the games, and it's Star Wars. So the first one is Renegade Squadron, and I should say it's Battlefront Renegade Squadron, and you fight in like teams, if you like, against the computer, or if you go online on the consoles, you can fight online. And yeah, it didn't seem too bad. I think I would enjoy it if I put more time into it. You can fight as a lot of different Star Wars characters and in different areas. You can even battle in space using the Millennium Falcon and things like that. Who get me? I know something off Star Wars. Yeah, so I mean, I should give it some time. Actually, I think I will enjoy that. Next up is Elite Squadron, and yeah, this seemed a bit different, but again, not bad. Graphically, they're all fantastic, I've got to admit. And much like the James Bond games, I'm not a big fan of James Bond whatsoever, but the games are fantastic, or usually fantastic. So yeah, I will dig into these. And then there's Battlefront 2. So on this one, you can fight as a Jedi. There's a picture of Yoda. I don't know if you can see. There's a picture of Yoda holding a lightsaber. So battle in space as well, like the other ones. 13 new locations. 3 exclusive campaigns. You can have 4-player wirelessly. I think it'll be good on its own anyway. And finally, it's a different one in the Star Wars franchise, if you like. It's Lethal Alliances, or Alliance, where you fight as this lady here. You use this lady, and it's a third-person sort of shooter, from what I remember. I don't know who she is. I don't know where she comes into it in Star Wars or anything like that. But it did seem quite fun again. You go around where you go and you can, like, she's quite athletic, so you can do cartwheels and backflips and stuff like that. It's got a few of the characters on there, like stormtroopers, things like that. So yeah, it could be a game that I really enjoy because it's not as Star Warsy as the others. Forgive me, but yeah. Looking forward to playing that one out of all of them the most. So down to our last 2 games then. One of them is probably the one I'm looking forward to playing the most out of all of these. And the other one, yeah. I'll start with the meh one, which is Driver 76. And it's not as good as I was hoping. I didn't like Driver on the PlayStation anyway, but yeah, it's got some different. I think it's set in the 70s, which is why it's 76. The guy's got a big afro and things like that. But yeah, you got muscle cars and things like that. There's a bit of free roaming in there as well, which you can do, racing and shooting, fighting, anything you want really. But it's not as good as I was hoping. Compared to this one, Gangs of London, which is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And I really didn't want to come off this. Now, it's by the same people that did The Getaway, which is another game I haven't played. But it's essentially, not completely, but essentially Grand Theft Auto set in London, which I know we've had, but this is a 3D version, and they've captured London fantastically well. There's a few landmarks in there which you'll recognise, and there's like London buses, the big red London buses. There's the red phone boxes as well. It's just, the story seemed really good as well, and graphically it looks really good. And when I say it's like Grand Theft Auto, it's very similar. So it's familiar to play, yet different enough to not be Grand Theft Auto, if that makes sense. So I'm really looking forward to playing this. It's very similar to the Liberty City stories and Vice City stories. So yeah, I believe it's a Sony game as well, so it's going to be quality. And then my pickups, which for 20 quid I am absolutely over the moon with. And Lee, I just want to say thank you so much. I know that he sold me those because he knew that I wouldn't just get them and take them to CEX. So they are all going into my collection. I won't get rid of any of them, even Star Trek. I'll keep. But yeah, so I believe that takes me up to 49 PSP games, and I only got the PSP in January, I believe. So I'm doing all right in that respect. So at least I've got something to do in isolation. There's WrestleFest as well. But yeah, it's pretty bad out there at the minute. For anyone that's going through, not me, I've got tonsillitis, I think. But for anyone that's going through what's happening at the moment, then I'm sorry to hear that. It's really, really bad out there. People are being really selfish when it comes to the shopping side of things. I don't know why you need to stockpile on toilet roll when diarrhea isn't even a symptom. The food aspect is just pathetic. It's really bad, really bad. And I said to someone the other day, when back in World War II, when they had people shooting at them, bombing the country, everyone stuck together, banded together, helped each other. And we've got I shouldn't make light of it, but it's, for the most part, a lot of people are going to have flu-like symptoms, and everyone is just out for themselves. It's not nice to see. It's disgusting, actually, in my opinion. So my heart goes out to anyone that's suffering, especially the old and people that are vulnerable, underlying health conditions, and people that can't get out and get the stuff they want. It's disgusting. I'm suffering at the minute with the tonsillitis. I can't get to see a doctor because they won't see me because of my cough. I got ordered to leave the walk-in centre the other day, and I've just got to ride through it, unfortunately, and it's not the best. I feel like my throat's got razor blades in there. It's dreadful. The headache and the dizziness has gone pretty much, and it is starting to calm down a bit, but yeah, it's still not great. So yeah, with that, I just want to say thank you for watching, everyone. I will be back with more. Again, I'm not making excuses, but again, with what I'm going through, it's not my Billy Bullock video back. I need to do some acting, and I'll level with you. I've got to do a pirate voice in there. That's got you thinking, I know it has. But to be able to do that, it's going to really irritate my throat, and I just can't do it, unfortunately. So it's coming. It's all scripted. It's all ready. It will be coming. But for now, I hope you understand and just enjoy the pickup videos that I'm putting out. They're a bit easier for me to do. So yeah, but yeah, thanks for watching. And I know it was a bit different being PSP, but if you're not used to PSP or you don't collect for it, consider it. It's very cheap. If you're on a budget and you want to get into games collecting, I know you watch my videos and think maybe that I've got a lot of money. I haven't. I collect for the 360, Xbox, and PSP, and I, for the most part, pay £1 a game. And a lot of my games have been given to me as well because people can't trade them in, or they can only get a few quid for them. So yeah, I collect Game Boy. I know they're pricey, but that's as and when, to be honest. So yeah, the other games are they're so cheap, and if you want to collect, if you want to get into it, then that's the route to go down, definitely. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you again very soon.